we kind of killed the property.
Yeah, I didn't know where they are now.
You don't really know until somebody makes
I
a,
had downloaded them.
take much of drawing, this might be accurate. If that land was done with R 12, it's been done like this.
Got that turned
One thing
on.
Harry's always says, he don't want houses being built. I would be something like this, if there was reasons space. I don't know, I hadn't seen the property, but the house would be built around here. All that,
Yes.
How you doing?
House would get ripped all at once.
No, you're talking about Cold Circle. I didn't realize
There
that.
will be some buildable sites there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there'll be some buildable sites.
Right.
Now, where Harry's talking about, now by his, now this would affect one lot, because they're already cut up.
Right.
It has to be 5 acres, but let's say somebody had 6 or 7 of those lots like this. Some lots like this, they could combine those into one parcel, and leave all this up, and different houses, where the flat pieces. They put 2 down here, put 2 up here. So this is just create a new property. Here's a pond on this property. I don't know how those lines would draw out.
Yeah, 60
Cut
or
off,
70.
cut it off. Like, they didn't make it, get around it somehow. There's a lot of scenarios. This is, we don't do this, we are, we set this up in DC. People that own property. Okay, where is Ken? All right, 6:47. Before we get started, I want to go ahead and announce we've got a different group in here, so we want to make sure that everybody feels safe. If you feel like you need more space, chairs open here, open over there. Our mask ordinance is expired, so nobody that has a mask off is violating any ordinance. Meetings are broadcast starting tonight on YouTube, so everything's on YouTube. Public statements, all the microphones are hot, so when you make a public statement, just stay within range of the microphone so it'll pick up your statements, and the YouTube broadcasts are archived, so you can go back later and look it over and all you want to. So with that, the Town of Central public hearing, Monday, May 10th, 2021 is called to order. We had an invocation already. So I'll go to item 1, natural space residential district. A natural space residential district is a residential development in which dwellings are situated on the most developable part of the site in exchange for preservation of substantial amounts of well-maintained, open or natural space for recreational, environmental, and ecological reasons. The purpose of this district is to provide a method of land development that permits variation in lot sizes without an increase in the overall density of population or development. This allows the subdivision of land into lots varying sizes, which provide home buyers a choice of lot sizes according to their needs, while at the same time preserving open space, tree cover, scenic vistas, natural drainage ways, and existing natural topography. Such measures prevent soil erosion and flooding by allowing development to occur in according to the nature of the terrain, provide larger open areas with greater utility for the rest and recreation, and encourage the development of more attractive and economical site design while preventing unnecessary sprawl. The developer, while still building a similar number of homes, is able to reduce the environmental impact of the property and lower the cost to the consumer by reducing the amount of required sewer, roads, and other infrastructure. The resulting development benefits from the open recreation or natural space. I'll read some of the highlights of the natural district. That's the addressing paragraph. Minimum lot area, there's no minimum lot area per dwelling unless required by DHEC or local code. Yard requirements, there's no minimum lot width except required by DHEC and or applicable building code. Natural space ownership, restoration, and maintenance. The ownership of natural space, the owner or developer or subdivider shall select land dedicated for natural space purposes and type of ownership. Type of ownership may include, but is not necessarily limited to the following. 1, the town, subject to acceptance by the governing body. 2, other public jurisdictions or agencies subject to their acceptance. 3, non-private or quasi-public organizations committed to the protection and conservation of natural space subject to their acceptance. 4, homeowner or cooperative associations, homeowner association. Or number 5, shared undivided interest by all property owners within the subdivision. Maintenance of the natural space, the persons and entities above having the right of ownership or control over the natural space shall be responsible for its continuing upkeep and proper maintenance, and damages resulting from neglect or proper maintenance. Natural space easements. Prior to recording a subdivision plat, an easement shall be placed on all lands and private waters used to satisfy the natural space requirements of the natural space residential district. The easement shall be solely for the purpose of ensuring the land remains undeveloped and shall not in any way imply the right of public access or any other right or duty not expressly set forth in terms of the easement. The easement shall run with all land and provide protection in perpetuity, and be granted to the homeowners association, a town-approved nonprofit, land trust, or other qualified organization approved by meets and bounds of the property being designated as natural space. Let's see, minimum area for natural space residential development shall be 5 acres. The minimum area shall consist of contiguous parcels not divided by an existing public, private road or recreational or navigable body of water. Required buffers. A buffer of 50 feet shall be required along all external lot lines of any natural space residential development. The buffer shall be left disturbed whenever possible. Setback. No structure shall be erected within 50 feet of any external lot line of any natural space residential district. Minimum side setback of 5 feet shall apply to any structures or internal lots, as well as maintaining a minimum of 15 feet between structures on adjacent internal lots. Parking. Adequate off-street parking for each development shall be provided. Permitted uses, single-family detached dwellings, single-family zero lot line dwellings, single-family attached dwellings. Single-family attached dwellings are permitted subject to the following requirements. Any attached unit must be a townhome and excludes condominiums. Any attached units may be contained within the development, should not be part of any exterior lot. Attached units may be a duplex, triplex, quadruplex, and shall not exceed more than 4 units per structure. Attached units shall not be located on pre-existing platted lots within a development. No more than 3 unrelated occupants may reside in each dwelling unit. Permitted density. The overall number of dwellings allowed in a natural space development may be found in the below table. All densities are based on the total number of acres of owned parcels included in the development, undeveloped, and open natural space. Or 20,000 square foot per lot, 2.1 units per acre. Required natural space. In a natural space development, a minimum percentage of the total acreage must be designated as open or natural space. And required natural or open space may include both developable and undevelopable land as defined in common definitions. Not more than 50% of the required natural open space may be used for active recreational purposes such as playground, sports fields, or other formal recreation space. except for paved walking trails not to exceed 6 feet in width. These natural open spaces may not contain impervious surfaces. Minimum percentage of required natural open space in District R20, 30%. Riparian buffer zone. A riparian buffer zone shall encompass all land within a minimum of 60 feet on either side of all streams, springs, rivers, ponds, lakes, and other waters that situate or flow through the town of Central, measured as a line extending perpendicularly from the bank of the waterway or the spring. The bank shall be identified where observable as location where there's a break in the slope and not the edge of the body of water. Within the riparian buffer zone, the following activities are not permitted: construction or installation of any impervious surface not included but not limited to buildings, structures, driveways, streets, or roads, parking lots, or any other paved, hardened, or structural surface which does not allow for complete on-site infiltration of precipitation. B, land disturbing activities such as grading, scraping, excavating, filling of land, or clearing of vegetation or trees unless performed with hand tools. C, stormwater retention, detention, or facilities installation. D, allowing a deposit of excess sediment into waterways of the riparian buffer zone that originates from other portions of the district. Any deposits resulting damage to the waterway shall be remediated. Residential landscape standards. The purpose of the residential landscape standards are served as a minimum guideline to create aesthetically pleasing landscape to support functional and appropriate drainage of the development and to enhance architecture of the home. Public viewing area, the front of the home and side of the home with dual street views, planting beds along the foundation have adequately sized plantings, one appropriately sized for sustainable growth, understory tree, foundational coverage of evergreen shrubs, and mature to 3 foot or larger varieties to provide textural differences. 1 to 5 deciduous plants with all areas of the ground having cover such as mulch, pine needles, or grass which can be seeded, preferable to be sod in the event that a streetscape tree exists within the lot lines of the parcel. The understory tree will not be required. Private area, generally in the back of the home, all areas of the ground to have coverage such as mulch, pine needles, or grass which can be seeded, preferably sod. C, service area, HVAC units to be screened with 1 evergreen plant that matures over 3 feet in height, or a solid wooden fence 4 feet in height on 2 sides of the HVAC unit, or other outdoor exterior utility appliances. And D, drainage. Excess drainage originating from a developed lot with a district which causes sediment, washing, erosion, or drainage to an adjacent property or roadway shall be addressed and remediated. So that's the high points. Pages, I missing anything? You were kind of following along with me?
No, other than that piece that I wanted.
Okay, well, that's a proposed amendment.
I think that they need to be made aware of the proposed amendment.
Okay, there's a proposed amendment. Hey, do you want to go?
Yeah, I would like to propose that we add a variation from standards, and that would just read, variations from standards they may be permitted if this zone creates unusable land. A comprehensive site plan will need to be submitted at the time of rezoning if it is found to be suitable and generally consistent with the intent of the natural area zone, with agreement of the zoning official and the majority of the planning commission, then the variance will be granted. That means that if they do want to use this, and we have created with our buffers or anything else that we have written in here, an unusable area in their plat, then they could come to us at the time of rezoning, and the zoning official, the planning commission would look at it. If we felt like it was still in agreement with the natural area zone, then we could grant that variance. If it is not, then that variance would not be granted. Everything that has to do with rezoning, though, also then comes to the council. So whether we passed it or didn't pass it at planning commission, it would still come to the council for the final vote.
All right, so that would be a proposed amendment. So on the agenda is the original document, and at the time to present this would be as an amendment to the ordinance. So that was a pretty good explanation of that. Anything else that we missed on there?
No, sir.
Okay.
Could I say something, please?
You sure can.
Paige and I are friends, and we've already talked about this, so I don't want anyone to think that we're having, drama up here. But I personally don't agree with the variation from the standards. It was not what we voted for last time, on first reading. This is second reading of what I thought would be the same ordinance that we had last week. And I think that the public out there, you need to be aware of that. That's all I want to say.
Okay. All right, item 2, public comments. Anybody wishes to address council on the natural space residential zone, please step to the podium and state your name. Okay. All right.
Janie Collins. With what y'all were just talking about, I have a question about it with the variation. Could that in any way affect the buffers?
Yes. Yes.
Then I am definitely against it. At the planning commission meetings that we've all been to, we have, and at all of the other meetings that we've been to, the council meetings, at the public hearings and everything, we have always asked for at least a minimum of 50-foot buffers. So I do not want that. I don't want to see that changed in any way. So I would definitely be against that. Let me see if I have other questions. On the agenda for the natural space residential district, and I went to the planning commission meetings and, listened very carefully, but in the second sentence of this explanation, it says the purpose of this district is to provide a method of land development that permits variation in lot sizes without an increase in the overall density of population or development. And I'm specifically talking about the density of population. So I'm a little confused with that. I mean, I would like it to be without an increase in density or more homes. And are we still talking about 100 homes? And I'm specifically talking about the Lawton Road now. I'm not just talking about this in general.
We don't have a site plan for Lawton Road, so we can't answer that question.
But what we've talked about at all the different meetings has been about 100 homes.
Well, in the ordinance on the page 3.
I don't have that, I'm
Okay.
sorry. Do we have that?
It's R20, 20,000 square foot per lot. And the math calculation is 2.1 units per acre. So on any proposed development that would use this zoning, you take the number of acres and multiply that times 2.1,
So that's roughly
and that would give you the amount
100.
of houses that would be
I think they have 48.
yeah.
available on that,
So about 100.
about 100 probably.
So, I mean, that's what we've been talking about all these months.
Yeah.
But I'm just, and I hope I'm reading this correctly, that it's not going to be it says without an increase in the overall density of population. But at all the other meetings, especially the planning commission meetings, I thought they were saying that there was going to be increased density,
An increased,
meaning the houses will be on top of one another.
the increased density would be an R12, an historical R12 lot is 12,000 square feet.
Right,
per
4
lot.
per acre, right?
So,
If I'm,
basically 4 per acre. So what we're looking at is zoning that allows 2 per acre.
which is better. So is this, if I'm,
2.1.
I don't see in here, I mean, it doesn't say R20, R12.
There's no option for R12.
Okay, so that means that,
If somebody wants to apply for this zoning district and use this, then they would be subjected to 2.1 lots per acre.
Janie, I think you're saying the same things, but differently. You can have 100 houses on that plat of land.
right,
The old way of doing it, you would have a 20,000 square foot lot, which would give you roughly 100 homes. This would allow you to make the houses closer together, which you're saying is density.
right, that's what
But-
I'm thinking.
Yes, he's saying houses as density. So you're saying area, he's saying houses.
Yeah, that's a good explanation for that.
Okay. I'm thinking houses, maybe I didn't say it correctly, but I'm thinking houses. I'm thinking with this, the houses, we're gonna actually have less land if we preserve the natural space. We're gonna actually have less land to put all of those homes on. So therefore, the density is going to be increased.
The houses.
Is that not correct?
That's correct. The houses will be closer together, which will leave the rest of the land open.
Right.
But it's the same number of houses if it was R20.
But this specifically says without an increase in the overall density.
Yeah, the density being,
Are we talking about houses? Are we talking?
we're talking
So
about. the
how is that
density-
gonna be without?
The density is 20,000 square foot, 2.1 lots per acre. That's the density.
So we're talking about land, not houses.
We're talking about lots. The number of lots on a parcel, if you divide it by R20, it's 2 point whatever lots. So basically 2 lots per acre. If you take 150 acres, cut it by 2 lots per acre, it's 100. With this, it'd still be 100, but it would be,
They're gonna be on top of one
well,
another.
they'll be closer together, and then there'll be open area instead of chunking them and building them wherever the lines end up.
That would not allow any more houses on that area.
There won't be any more houses than R20.
Yeah, because there won't be
Also-
any more room.
There won't be
for
any
any
more
more
room,
houses.
but also, to your point, you made a lot of times that you don't like to see houses built on cliffs. So if those lots that, in your neighborhood, if they were 5 acres, those people that built those houses could move those houses on those lots onto a more buildable section of the lot and not build them because they're restricted by the lines to where they can build the house. They can build the houses where it's more appropriate to build a house instead of, building a foundation 20 feet high.
I don't want to interfere with her, but I got a little different situation on Wood, Eaton, and Mary Street. Across from the park, we got 3 houses on one lot. That does not fit in the neighborhood. Does anywhere in here allow that not to happen anywhere else in the town where there's a neighborhood already? That is, if you ride by there and look at it and ride the street, you got 3 houses there on one area, and then apparently they had the room to build them. I didn't know the footage or anything. If I'd known there's 3 houses in there, I would have been up here opposing it right away, because 3 looks worse than 4 on that lot or anywhere in that neighborhood. It just doesn't fit in. Is anywhere in here that allows that to happen again?
Well,
On the lot?
these, anybody that applies to use this, if they have a neighborhood, the neighborhood's likely to be a curved road with the houses in a curve.
You know what I'm,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's,
that's terrible looking to
those,
me.
those old lots are square and
Yeah.
you have to build the house exactly where the lot is.
But they built 3 on one area where there used to be 1 house.
And that
This
wouldn't
doesn't
be,
look right.
that wouldn't be subject to this because those are not 5 acres anyway. Those are just
Okay.
one lot.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's
Well,
okay.
that's just a point, make a point. But if somebody had some of these gullies and things and they wanted to subdivide them, it wouldn't require, they would no longer be required to build the house exactly where the lot lines used to be. They can build the house in a more appropriate location. And, you know, maybe a gully is a natural area with natural plants hanging off ferns and stuff like that. You don't want to disturb it by building a house on a cliff. So this would allow that, but the person who owns the property would need to come down and apply for this zoning. They already zoned R12, R20, R6, whatever they're zoned. And a lot of the land that's already in town is already subdivided. Half acre, quarter acre, whatever, it's already cut up. So the existing property in town would not be subject to this because it's already set. This would be for new development. And primarily this would be somebody that came in and a developer. And these days it's not as attractive for, like we used to have home builders come in and build a house.
Yeah.
Anything you see now is gonna be most primarily somebody building several houses or a cluster. And that's what this will address. So, yeah, you'll probably see houses into a neighborhood. If you drive down Brock Street, it's straight and there's box. Well, if you turn down into this, you'll turn into a curve and you'll see the houses in a little different pattern and they'll be facing different directions and whatever trees they have to plant will be mixed in with the houses and then it'll look a little bit different than it does now, or a lot. It'll be dramatically different than our old zoning. I never really liked the square old zoning. To me, it just looked like block. You know, to me, it just didn't look attractive. I hate, you know, I grew up here. I always hated Brock Street because there's a straight street with square lots and the house had to be right in the middle of it and nobody ever took into consideration any of the terrain or whatever. Wherever the lot ended up, the house had to be in the middle of it, and if it was on the ditch, that's where the house had to go. It might be a good piece of land on the front of the lot to build, but you couldn't use it because the restrictions of having to put that house in the middle of that lot with 20 feet on the front and 20 feet on the back and however 20, 30, 40 feet, that cuts down the usable area of the lot. So while these lots will be smaller, the open space will be bigger. I would never buy a house in this subdivision for the number one reason. The subdivision restrictions are about 30 pages and it tells you that you can't park your boat and your trailer and you have to have a certain fence and you can't rent your house to anybody and all these things that subdivisions have. But it just seems to be that that's the way things are now, that people want these, but I would never want it. But
Well, I wouldn't, I don't want to be right next to it either.
Yeah, well, I mean, I live right in there, so, I'm not real happy that people move here and buy houses and build them, but I'm glad people move here and buy houses and build them because we have new neighbors, but I'm not real happy that people move here and buy houses and build them. But, it's a two-edged sword. So, I've been living on the corner of Brock Street and Gaines Street for 31 years. And to me, it seemed like the traffic's less. They built Chastain Road Elementary, and now the traffic at school time is less because they used to back up past my house. But now they only back up down towards 417 and stuff like that. But, I live where I live. I choose to. I like to have trash, and I like to have police, and it's not a real quiet place to live, but I kind of like where I live.
Well, it's going to get a lot busier, going to have a lot more traffic, as we've discussed that ad nauseum. But I just thank you for your time, and I am very much opposed to, I guess, the variation, because if it will affect the buffers, I do not want that to happen at all.
Okay.
So thank you. And, well, I'll save it for later.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for your comment. Anybody else wish to address council? Or speak to the Natural Space District? Okay. With that, we have, without objection, public hearings adjourned. No objections? Okay. Philip, you gotta change the, feed.
Let's make sure YouTube's still working.
All right. Okay.
from you.